Hi everyone, my name is Ramana Reddy. I'm a tax lawyer from Hyderabad. I've been currently working on a GST case which involves a best judgment assessment. Since the issue is still fresh in my mind, I thought I'd make a short video about it. So, what is a best judgment assessment? A best judgment assessment basically comes into play when a taxable person fails to file his or her GSTR 3B returns. So every month, a taxable person has to file a few returns, and the most important one is the GSTR 3B return because payment of tax happens with that return. So if you fail to file the GSTR 3B returns and fail to pay tax, then what happens is the officer issues a notice under Section 46 of the CGST Act, and he says, let's take, so for example, February 2020. So for February 2020, you were supposed to file your GSTR return. You have not filed it. Therefore, as the tax officer, I don't know what your, how much tax or how much business you've done and how much tax you have to pay to the department. Since I don't know, since you have not reported it yourself, what I'm going to do is I'm going to conduct something called a best judgment assessment. And I am going to estimate the figure or the amount of tax that you have to pay to the department. And so he's going to take, I guess, for the lack of a better word, he's going to take a best guess at how much your tax liability is. Now, again, guess is a loose word. So if you fail to file your return and pay tax, and the officer wants to do the best judgment assessment, there is a process that the officer must adopt under Section 62. So the first step is that the officer must issue a notice under Section 46 in a form called GSTR 3A. And that notice must specify, uh, you know, what is the tax that he proposes to levy on you. That's step number one. Step number two, within 30 days of receiving the notice under 46, as a taxable person, you have the right to file your return. So for the month of February, you receive a notice. Within 30 days of receiving the notice, you file your return, your 3B return. And if you do that, the officer has to withdraw the best judgment assessment proceedings, and your life gets a whole lot easier. So first, step number one is he issues a notice. Step number two, you file your return. Now, assuming for whatever reason you cannot file your return, then in that case, the least you must do is at least respond to the GSTR 3A notice under Section 46, and you need to file a response, and you need to object in some way, or you need to make out a case as to why the officer should not undertake best judgment assessment. Now, it could be a matter of record that you have not actually filed your return. So there are a couple of arguments that you can raise in reply. So you can say, okay, you that in the best judgment notice or under Section 46, first the officer has to put you on notice as to the amount at which he is assessing you. So, for example, he can say, for the month of February 2020, I am assessing you at 30,000 rupees because for the last 1 year, you have filed your returns and you have disclosed your tax between 20,000 rupees and 40,000 rupees. So, because you've always fallen within the range of 20 and 40,000 rupees, I'm going to assess you at 30,000 rupees. Now, this is a fair argument that the tax officer can make. So, if the notice does not disclose some method, some methodology as to why the officer is adopting a certain figure as the tax amount, then you need to say that in your reply to the notice that the officer issues to you. So you need to tell him that, look, okay, you've given me a Section 46 notice, but it does not disclose what is the figure at which you plan to assess me. And if there is a figure, then please tell me the basis. How are you arriving at, say, 30,000 rupees? There must be some reason as to why you think I should be charged so much of tax. Although it may be true that I have not filed my return due to whatever reason. But if you're undertaking a best judgment assessment, then please provide your reasons as to why that is your best guess, or why that is your best judgment as to what the tax should be. So this is one argument to adopt, and there is a lot of case law under the old law, that is under VAT, service tax, central excise, that says that if an officer wants to do a best judgment assessment, then he cannot simply make a wild guess. It cannot be like he cannot adopt figures that are completely imaginary. He cannot adopt figures that are completely arbitrary. He needs to have some basis in fact as to why he is adopting a certain sum as tax that should be levied on you. And once you give your reply, then the officer gives out a best judgment assessment under Section 62. He gives out an order. And depending on, the various facts and circumstances of each case, you are free to file an appeal before the appellate authority or challenge that order in a writ petition before the High Court. So, in short, yes, that is the procedure for a best judgment assessment. And if you ever receive a notice, or if an officer undertakes a best judgment assessment, always remember he has to issue a notice to you, put you on notice as to the methodology that he's adopting, give you a chance to respond, and only then can he confirm uh, any best judgment assessment to you. So don't think that if you've not filed your return, then that the officer can straight away pass an order. That is never the case. He has to put you on notice, give you an idea about his methodology, and only then uh, move forward and pass an order. I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to post them in the comments. If you have any love mail or hate mail, please feel free to put them in the comments also. Although I may not respond to each comment, I definitely look at all of them. I hope this video was helpful, and thank you for watching.